Good morning, good morning. It's me, and I am down in my basement looking out my window. It's a snowy view out here. I feel sorry for this big bush right next to my window that has so much heavy snow on it that it's like split open. Oh my goodness. And am I upside down? No, actually. Wait, am I? Yeah, okay. Let me fix this. Let me sit down. Strains my back every time. I don't have anyone here with me yet anyway. Hopefully, I hope someone can join me today. Oh, I don't know why this looks weird. Seems like no matter what I do, I can't read the title. Oh, now I can read it. Okay, so this is my new box, and it has just primaries in it. So anytime I want to paint, I'm going to have to get my white and black or neutrals out in addition, and I'm going to basically change the way I've been using my paint box because I want these paints to last a little bit longer. And I set it out in a place where I'm going to be reminded every day to wet it, you know, so it's got a nice clean wet paper towel in here. And I'm actually using the palette paper for this small Stay Wet palette. It comes in this smaller size. And you can also buy the small palette paper, and you have to soak it a few minutes. I put that on as a membrane and then put a paper towel, really wet paper towel or shop towel in here, and I re-wet both of these every day and snap it closed. So for today's palette, I am going to, I actually had some leftover paint here from a previous, painting session like a week and a half ago, and these paints are still good, they're still wet, so I'm going to use this too. So I'm going to swap this out. I've got the lid, I just thought of this. I'm going to use the lid from this Stay Wet palette for these older paints. So I'm going to take all this out of here and put it in the lid. Or actually, what I did was I made a new sponge. I mean, they come with a sponge, but I kind of like using the shop towels. It's cheaper, and they work just as well. So I wet a shop towel and placing it in the lid just so that I can use these leftover paints, because why waste them? So I'm just gonna, you got to make sure it makes contact with, oh, it may not work that well. It's got to make contact with the wet paper. And then I'm going to reuse this. Maybe I'll spray this a little bit more since this was not recently wet. So we're going to use a really limited palette today of primaries. And here is my new sheet of, what do they call it? Palette paper that I soaked in my sink for about 5 minutes. So it's really wet all the way through. And I'm pressing it down so that it's pressed against my wet shop towel. And that's going to keep my paints nice and moist, probably for a couple weeks. And so today I decided I want to do a pig. Hey, Carolyn. And I've got a 12 by 12 panel that I'm going to use today. I did a practice drawing on the wrapper that this panel comes in. This is a really cute pig photo I found online. You're going to paint a corgi? Awesome. Awesome. So the first thing I would suggest is that you get your paint palette ready. Get your paints out. What I'm going to use today is, because it's a pig, and the idea is that it's a blue animal face, I'm going to use, a blue, a yellow, and a red and I'm going to use white, and that's it. And I'm going to make all my colors out of that. So for my red, and I've got a little color chart to refer to from these paints that I've got in my paint box. And I think I want to use my indanthrine blue because it's a nice dark blue. This will serve as my black. And since it's a pig, I think I want to use my quinacridone magenta, which I've got right here in my box in the upper corner. So the first thing to do is to decide which primaries you want to use on your painting. The blue usually serves to be your dark, your dark darks, and in this case it's going to be what we use mostly on the painting since it's a blue animal face. All right, so that being said, I've got my palette box ready. Now, if you don't have a Stay Wet palette like this, just squeeze your paints out onto your plate and maybe have a bottle of water nearby so that you can spritz your paints every once in a while. It's not the ideal thing because adding water to acrylic paint can kind of mess up the purity of it. Watery acrylic paint is not as good. It just doesn't work as well. All right, so let me get a little spatula. I forgot what to do with my spatula. I bought something to serve as a spatula, and now I don't know where I put it. Isn't that always the way? Well, I'll just use a palette knife. And so all I'm going to do is put out this dark blue. So I'm going to put my darks at the bottom and my lights at the top. So I'm going to have my white, a yellow down here. I'm going to have a, so when you think of this palette that you're setting up, we're using a limited palette. Think of it in terms of the upper part of it is going to be your light colors, white and yellow, and the left side is the cool, and believe it or not, white is a cool color. White makes things cooler. So I'm going to have my cool white on this side and along with my blue, which is a cooler color. So let me get this white off of here. My leftover white, which is not, it's not real clean because I didn't wipe my palette knife off enough, but that's okay. I'm going to grab some more white. So I've got another tube of white standing by. Sometimes I'll put 3 stripes of white so that I've got a clean batch to grab from since we use white so much. And I even do that at paint parties, Carolyn, too. If I'm filling up paint palette plates, I'll give a couple of puddles of white depending on the painting. Okay, for a yellow, I think I want to use this medium yellow, which is Cad Yellow Medium. Wipe my palette knife off. And then down here in this lower corner, I'm going to have my pink, my red, which is actually going to be quinacridone magenta. Get myself a nice glob of that down here. So from these, I'm going to be mixing a whole bunch of other colors. I can basically mix anything I want. And I'm going to close this box back up so that it's not getting all dry. I think that was the mistake I was doing before. I kept on leaving my box open, and those paints eventually dried out sooner than they should have. And I got this box from Dollar Tree, believe it or not. So it doesn't probably close as great as it should. I always have to kind of make sure it snaps down. But I have this in a place where I remember to change the paper towel out every day, or, you know, re-wet it every day. All right, so we're all set. We've got our palette. Here's my extra palette. It's got some older paints that I might reuse today. I'm gonna put this up here. I've got my water, I've got my brushes, and here is my canvas. So I need to cut this open with a knife. And I'm gonna do just a preliminary simple drawing. This is gonna be a loose, fun painting. I'm gonna try and keep this lesson under an hour. You know, maybe 45 minutes would be great. Oh, my clock says it's already 11:20. How did that happen? My goodness. I don't know how those spots got on there. But okay. So I'm gonna put my reference over here, and so let's get started with a drawing. And I like to usually put a ground color over the entire canvas. Oh, we've got someone else here. Hello, hello, who joined us? So since it's going to be a blue pig, I mean, I really could literally paint the entire background with a medium shade of blue. I think I might do that. I think I might do that. I'm gonna grab my big brush, and I'm probably gonna wind up using most of my blue there, but that's okay. I'll get myself some more if I do. So I don't know exactly what value of blue I'm gonna want. So let's just check it out. Not too dark. I don't think I want it too dark. Let's see how this is. And this is just a ground cover. And I like painting this way, as you guys know, because I feel like half the work is done for you when you've got a base color. Now I do add water when I'm doing a ground like this. And then I'm going to do my drawing on top of this. And I can even have it shift just slightly to a fun purplish color. Since it's a pig, why not? Grab some more white. I want to keep it light and bright and fun. Whimsical. But I do want to make sure that I've got this, this color all the way to the edges of my canvas. I like how there's just a real subtle shift in the color. I like that. Fun, fun, fun. Now I'm getting just a little bit too pink, probably. But maybe that's okay. And I'm not adding too much water because I don't want it to take, you know, 10 minutes to dry either. I probably could have had this background painted in beforehand, but I actually wanted you guys to see me doing the setup, because this is an updated paint box, and I don't know how much I've ever really talked about this small box that I'm using. This small, I keep calling it a palette. It's not. This is the, well, actually this is the palette, and the other holding the paints is a paint box. But some people call this palette a paint box, so it gets confusing, right? Well, Carolyn, I'm so glad you're here painting with me. Thank you for coming so that I'm not alone. It makes all the difference. Okay, let's get a little more blue in here again. Okay, good, good, good. So I'm just going to give that a second to dry, and since it needs to dry, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to grab, now I did a practice drawing. If you haven't done a practice drawing of your subject, the pet that you're painting, or not, I shouldn't say pet, the animal that you are painting, I would suggest that you grab yourself your sketchbook and do a practice run while that's drying, while that's drying, a very, very quick practice sketch. And I don't know where my drawing pad is. Let's see. So I'm looking for it. Oh, here's one. Okay. And this can also serve, this is going to be my value study. So maybe I'll do it right here. It's a tiny little value study inside one of these squares that I had drawn. And, you know, so here's my photo, and I'm squinting down really hard, and there's, you know, there's contrast from the background to the subject, but really I'm focusing in on just the subject. So I need to create some more interesting shadows on there. And when I look at it, I can see shadow coming up around the face here, and she's really top lit, and there's a lot of shadow inside the ears. So that's why I chose this. It has a pretty good value pattern. There's some definite shadow shapes. It's funny, I can see when I'm looking into the camera, I can really see the whole shadow. The whole nose is in shadow, the ears are in shadow, and it's pretty straightforward. So on here, I'm just going to do a really quick, in fact, I'm just going to use pencil and make a quick little plan for myself. And I'm going to get a soft pencil, just an HB. And I really would love to see you guys doing, let's make it more of a square, doing these quick little value studies. So, okay, the nose is just about in the center, right? Just a very quick thing, loose. That's the other thing. It kind of helps you loosen up when you do this sort of thing. As you know, I know you guys know this. Okay, so now here's the little eyes. They have little eyes. All right, so now for my value study, I'm going to lay in a darker value down here. I'm going to look for my darkest dark. The really darkest dark is in the eyes. The eyes actually seem darker than the nostrils. And then I'm going to really squint down hard and look for where I'm going to put a mid-tone value. So definitely along the body, the whole underside of the face. The side of this face comes up and separates from the shoulder and arm. So it's very important to help describe that. And really, this paw can all be in shadow. Paw. Is it a paw? Probably not. And of course, inside the ears are in a mid-tone shadow, not real dark. And the background is kind of a medium dark. So just taking a minute to notice these things is going to really help me. And then there's a beautiful light on the nostrils that I'll come back in with, and there's a beautiful white outline around the ears. So that's it. Yeah, and that's another reason Carolyn says mine is not a strong shadow, but I will exaggerate it. And that's another reason why I'm pointing this out, is because it's very hard to find good photos that have a good strong shadow pattern. That was the number one problem I had in art school, I remember, was finding good photo references. And what a lot of artists do is they wind up taking their own photos, and then that way you don't have to worry about copyright either. So let me get this a little darker down here. This isn't separated enough, so I've got to get a little darker there, a little darker here. You know, you start to realize, well, am I really telling enough of a story here? This is actually slightly darker value. The whole nose is slightly darker than the underside of the face because it's pink. It's got a cute little spot here. And I think that's pretty good. So, quick value study. I noticed a few things I didn't notice before. That's all it does. That's the whole purpose of it, and we're done. All right, so now, I might refer back to it, I might not. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'll leave it over here on the side. And while I did that, oh gosh, yeah, it's dry. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to come up with a color to use. I'm going to actually, now you could use chalk if you're more comfortable. I'm going to actually use paint. I'm going to use, I'm going to try using this. This is just it's a square tip, so I can get a decent line with it. And I'm going to use that to draw out my shapes. I'm still looking at shapes. And the main thing you want to do when you're starting to put your subject on your canvas, the first thing you're thinking about is placement. You want to get the placement right, and you want to have the proportions right. So you got to take your time. I'm going to mix up a color to serve as my line. So I'm going to use blue. I'm going to use a purple. Some magenta and blue together. That's a little too dark. I just need to be able to see it compared to the background, but not too noticeably dark than the background. All right, so I'm going to stand so that I have a good view of my entire canvas. I've got my reference right alongside of me right here. And this part might be a little bit boring watching me do, but the other thing you can do is you can look at the negative shapes, look at the background shape there, and this really lends itself, as you can see, to a square canvas. And his forehead is just about centered in there, but not exactly. So these are just going to be really rough lines, and it's okay if I have to change them later. They kind of have this long face, actually. And this paw comes down about like that. The forehead, you know, I'm comparing. I'm coming up with a unit of measure. Maybe it's the approximate size of his nose. Is this a boy or a girl? I don't know. And then you just start comparing sizes of things. Like I started with this ear, and I actually may have made the ear a little bit too big. So I like the placement and size on the canvas. I'm happy with that, and that's the main thing, is that I wanted to make sure that I had it the size that I want and the position that I want. Now I can go in and finesse things. And that really is a giant ear, and it's about the same height as the whole shoulder. I think I got that right. And I can look for things that line up. The bottom of the ear, when it goes across, the nose is below that. This ear is a little bit above that one. The shoulder comes out just about lined up with the bottom of this ear. I'm looking for things that are going to help me. I can look at negative shapes, positive shapes. And I'm going to refine this just a little bit more. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you just want to make sure you're not missing anything really important. Okay, so now I'm going to place the eyes. I think they're right about here. They're not real big. This face, the way it comes around. This is going to be a nice shadowy area here. Kind of thinking in terms of where are my big shadow shapes now. Add a little bit of my quinacridone magenta. And I'm just going to go a little bit darker now. This part is really super dark. I'm going to make a super dark now over here. Adding water. I'm just putting in big shapes. I'm still squinting. I'm still drawing. I'm not really painting right now. I'm really drawing and placing and comparing sizes of things. Seeing how things line up. Do I have things lined up in the same way they line up on my reference? Okay. So I'm going to mix up that mid-tone for the background now, and pretty much my line color can probably be what becomes my background color. So I do want it to be a little bit different from the pig itself. So maybe I will let it become kind of purplish. See how I like that. Let's get a bigger brush out. Seems to be taking too long. Oh wow, I didn't realize I had that much. Red in my brush. And you know, I'm refining as I go here. Refining my drawing just a little bit. Kind of looking at the negative shapes. you know, and if you work quickly, you can still get some blends and soft edges going on. Don't want a lot of hard edges until I know where my center of interest really is, which I probably want to make maybe this eye right here the center of interest. So what does that mean? Probably I'll have more contrast there. Maybe a more vivid color right there. Definitely I know I can get away with more contrast because that's the eye and it's very dark. But maybe I'll also put a spot of a bright magenta right there or something. Or in the case of if you're using just blue, maybe you'll put a more vivid blue there. All right, so feeling pretty good about this so far. It's funny, when I'm looking at her now, I'm really noticing that she's very pink in these shadow parts. All the shadow parts are actually very pink. So I'm probably going to use that. And I'm also noticing I need to kind of thin up this arm a little. My arms are just a little too big, so I need to fix that now. So this hoof shape, I'm going to try and just refine a little bit more. A little bit of shadow on the side of the face. I think I might have gone a little too dark. And that's the other thing. I can start putting in some lights now to help me out. And I think in the lights, I'm going to add just a little bit of yellow, which I added too much. But that's going to really help that pop. We can get a little bit peachy in here. Need to get that green out of my brush. And see, I already used up almost all of my white. So right here, I want this to really look like it's lighter. So I'm putting in my lights. And we're still being, you know, pretty rough and loose here. We're just blocking in big shapes. Look for the big shapes. And I am still going to keep my subject really pretty blue. But these are just, I'm getting these different values in here. Squinting and really looking at my subject here. Over here it gets a little bit darker. This is fun. All right, let's get a little bit pinky over here now. Some pink shadow going. Ooh-wee. I like that ear, just like that. I would love to just leave that. I'm actually really kind of liking the whole pink thing I got going on here. Oops, that's too light. I grabbed white in my brush. So you see how I'm using yellow, I'm using some pinks, I'm using a variety of tints here. It's not one solid color, and it may not be the perfect shade, but that's okay if it's not. I can always come back in and change it later, but I love the mix of the midtones starting to happen. Right under this mouth here, that's kind of a really grayish color. Not sure what value I want to use there, but oh, I should probably put in maybe a really darker value now. So what if I did that? What if I put my really dark in there, and the nostrils. Of course, it's not always easy to draw a round thing with a square tip brush. Is it? No, probably not the greatest idea. Now the eye likes to follow a sharp, hard line. So this might be the entry point for people to come in and view the painting. Hard lines, the eye will follow. Soft lines, the eye does not. Hey Tammy, how are you? Oh, I'm so glad you showed up though. Oh, and Joy. Hi, Joy. I've got 4 people here. Wow, yay! Hello, hello. How's everybody doing? And if you can't see, you can always swipe the text to the side. So it's supposed to be a blue, it's supposed to be a blue animal face. And I'm having fun putting my lights in yellow and some other colors, but I am going to come back in and keep it pretty blue, I think. All right, let me switch to maybe a round brush. And then the other thing too is you can always add black wherever you want to. I mean, I'm thinking I really might want to make the eyes black later, because look how black the eyes are. Okay, let's see. I know the nostrils are a lot bigger, and I really need to get this shape of this down a little bit better. still looking at my drawing, see some things I could tweak. I don't know, I'm loving that pink inside the ears. All right, let's get this nose going a little bit better. So I'm gonna get myself some more white. And you know, that's the other thing. If you're out of a color, just take the time to go squeeze yourself out some more of that color. You're gonna do a better job if you've got, you know, what you need. Right? You know it. All right. Okay, so then it gets even darker down here. Their snout is usually just a little wider at the bottom. And this particular one's got spots, so it's kind of strange, but so I'm not going to cover up all the previous layers of paint that I've got established on here. I'm going to try and keep some of that good stuff in there, you know. There is a highlight down here. And then this seems to be the lightest part. Of our pig. Got these cute little eyelids and fuzzy outline going on over here. You know, and they are just a little bit hairy, aren't they? Put my type back on, see if you guys are saying anything. Nope. Now the problem with that white is that I just had white from a dirty part of my palette with the blue, and it made a cool light, and it's not working. So I'm going to wait for that to dry and come back in and use a warm white which I get by adding yellow. So that did not work. I thought I would try it. Didn't quite work. There's just this tiny bit of warmth in the light. And of course my brush is just a little bit dirty. So I'm not quite getting the color I want. Yeah, let's make that a little more peachy. You really don't know if it's the right value until you put it down on there, right? You just can't tell sometimes. Of course, I you know, we love having like a peach color with these blues. That's always going to look really nice. I'm liking this peachy color I got going on here. Maybe I'll even make it just a little more vivid. So really it's kind of a pretty abstract painting, I guess, what I'm doing. Oh, if your blue is wet, that's not good. You're gonna get green, and I don't think I really want green on her. But I do love that peachy orangey color a lot. That's nice. So wherever the light is would be where you see warm colors. So I'm going to push it a little bit more to the extreme now. Yeah, this sharp corner is very distracting right there. But that's going to help me bring that face forward. I think I need to bring that face forward just a little bit more and refine my shapes just a little bit more. I think I want to get a little bolder with my pink. Yeah, that seems to be a much better value right there. So working with a bigger brush and trying some different values instantly made this start working a lot better, I feel like. All right, so maybe I don't want this to be so bright. Yeah, that's better, because that's just kind of stealing the show. That value was a little, I didn't realize, but it was a little too much. That's helping. Really brings the face forward a lot more now, and I didn't know that until I tried it. This ear might even be just a little bit wider than I have it. So definitely the bigger brush helped me a lot just then. All right. And I'm using these squared off strokes. Right here it needs to be a little lighter. So I'm looking for planes, really. That's what I'm doing. If I had to put it in words. It's just kind of all the same color I'm using here, but it does seem to be working. All right, so now if I take it over here and kind of neutralize this background, let's see what happens. Yeah, it's kind of an ugly color, but maybe that's going to work for us. It's just a little bit greenish. find that actually. And then it gets a little darker. A little more neutral now. Okay, and then I want it darker. Let's see. Where do I want it darker? Okay. I think I've got some big shapes established that I really like. That's way too light, so let's get a darker blue in here. So I'm going to try and get my blues back in here a little bit more. But I have to figure out the right value that they will work with, you know, what I've got. That's not bad. So Charlie hears or sees something going on out there. Wow, probably the garbage truck's coming. Okay, this is a little too distracting, some of those shapes in the background. And hopefully this is now at the point where I can do something a little bit better over there. All right. And I guess I like what's going on here a lot. I really love what's going on right here and with his arms and everything. I like the ears, the nose, or the snout. I think I don't quite have the right size brush. Sometimes that can be the issue. So let me get a 1/2 inch round. And then I also have like a 1/2 inch filbert. So it's the best of both worlds, right? A filbert. And I think what I really need to focus on now is getting the really light part here done. So let's put in a warm yellow. And again, I'm going to try and keep these bold, loose strokes. Really don't want to get all detailing on this. So I'm going to hold the brush loosely. So since this is my focal point, I think I am going to try and get a little bit of an eyelid in there. And sometimes that's what happens is when you start putting in like an eye or something, can really, you know, help so much. So I'm going to use this quinacridone here to bring more vibrancy, since this is my center of interest. They have these cute little eyelids. I think that helped quite a bit. All right, and changing these values a little bit. Those ears are kind of soft. Because I made that ear bigger. I should have known that I would get all carried away with pink since I love it so much. And yeah, I think I'm gonna have to make the nose pink. It's okay. We are artists. We're allowed to change our mind, right? No, is this? I think I just wet it with my finger. So it definitely needed to be dry. So I'm just gonna wipe it off. Whatever I got there, I got there. Want it dry. And yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to do a pink nose. I think I just love the pink nose. It's pinkish purple. All right, that's okay. That was too light of a value. So I need to find just the right purple value here. It's a pretty important one. A little darker. Oops, wish I hadn't done that. That doesn't look that good, that dark, does it? And I think I should have left the spots off of his paws. Wasn't caring for that green too much, so yeah, let's that's the other thing, you can use another brush, switch out another brush. I might be running out of my anthraquinone here. Okay, yeah, I like that purple a lot better. Just need a prettier color up here, don't we? That was looking a little bit ugly, that color. Okay, so I'm running out of colors. So you gotta force yourself to stop and put more paint out. I get so caught up in the moment that I don't even want to stop and do that, you know? It's getting a little bit dirty, which I suppose isn't the worst thing when we're talking about pigs. I like what this is doing. And it really does kind of make you bring your eye right there because of all that texture. Sometimes texture can be the thing that causes a center of attention, you know. All right, and then it kind of becomes this softer blend into the nose, right? Okay, so let's get maybe my smaller round brush now. And I don't have any dark left. So here, let's see. Actually, I've got some black over here. This blue. And they really are like perfect circles. Pigs' noses are so weird. All right, I think I'm getting there. Certainly is a fun one to paint, I will say that. Really fun. Oops. I think this is the inner eyelid. And then there's another eyelid on top of that. All right, I think I'm just about there. Carolyn, I don't know if you're still with me. kind of like the more you explore the subject, the more you get into it. So sorry, I know I haven't been talking much, but we've been having fun here, kind of just really getting into it. So I guess I really did a multicolored animal. Thought I was going to do, you know, a blue face. But turned out to be better to do this, I guess. This needs to just kind of get a little more lost over here. Filming! One time he doesn't ask me if I'm filming. Sorry guys. I don't know if you even heard him. Alright, just about done. Just about there. I think that's it, you guys. Yeah. Oh, I really like it. Oh, I was going to get rid of that green over here. Let me just do that. Let's do a more lavender color over here. Yeah, that green just wasn't Wasn't doing it for me. All right, guys, I think that's it. So I hope you got something out of this one. I'm gonna let it dry. Oh, I see one thing. I can add that white highlight back in the eye. There's also just a bit of a highlight on the snout. And that is it, I think. I mean, I suppose there could be some little finessey tweaks I could do here and there. But I don't know, don't really want to get too crazy with it. It was a bit too much over there. I shouldn't have done that. See, that's how you know it's time to stop, is when you start doing little tweaky things like that don't really add to it. So, okay, enough. That's it, you guys. Wow, this was really fun. I'm usually not this loose, but I really like it. And I hope you do one. All right, see you later. Bye.